Got it?
Hold on. Okay. Streaming. What happens is it notifies you that it's streaming, and I sometimes have a bad habit of hitting stop. Am I on now? My page. And if you can, tag Chief with my page. You on, Chief?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm counting up. I got 12 so far. It is now. You're good.
What time do you have when you want to sleep?
7:55. Alright, you're on.
Appreciate you, bro.
Alright, we'll figure this out.
Close the door behind you. Yeah, we'll work on it. Thanks.
At least we know what it is.
Alright. Yeah. Pick whichever microphone you will use. If you can, put one of them. I know you're loud already. Put one of the microphones closer to you.
I got you.
I'll let you know if you glad to sit on this. Hey everybody.
Does your camera catch both of us? Your camera catches both of us?
Yeah, we good. This is us right here.
If I tag, so if I come off mine, see mine just got me.
That's fine. You don't need me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what you
Your head bigger than mine anyway.
Yes.
Keep you off mine.
Yes.
Yeah, because I was gonna say I could put your picture, your view on mine.
Yeah.
I could have just went on your page.
No,
we
you
good?
put yours right in front of you.
All right.
Your people want to hear you talk.
They were gonna still hear me, Jay.
They want to see your face too.
Hey, thank y'all for tuning in. Good morning, everybody.
Justin. Get my music. Put my show back up.
Hey, your mom fix a potato salad with her. What she did?
I don't know. I didn't ask her what she fixed. She was too busy bragging on the fish.
I sure got some more for her, baby. Please let her know. She's so nice. Yeah.
She was quite surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And she was even more surprised when I was at your house eating. She didn't know I was there.
Yeah, she called, huh?
She called to tell me how good it was.
Yeah, you eat yours out the grease, huh? Yes, indeed. So, man, we put some weight on you, man. They don't want my cake. Good morning, everyone. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all.
Good morning, good morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Dr. James Gilmore, and you are listening to WTQT at 106.1 FM. This morning's show is What's Going On. Again, my name is Dr. James Gilmore, and thank you so much for tuning in. Today's topic is crime reduction and how do we build strong community and police relations. And I am privileged to have back in the studio Chief of Police Carl Dunn. Chief Dunn will be in here to have a good frank conversation about what's going on in our community as it relates to crime and violent crime, as well as good things that are happening in our community, and especially in the city of Baker, Louisiana. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to What's Going On with Dr. James Gilmore. Unfortunately, even this morning, I get up to read in the newspaper about a fatal shooting or murder at 5 a.m. this morning. Not only is one person dead, but another person was injured jumping out of the building. So there is a lot going on in our city when you wake up and you hear about a murder that occurred at 5 a.m. in the morning. And just to give you a quick view of what's going on in our community as it relates to crime and violence, this parish, East Baton Rouge Parish, has seen more homicides during the first half of 2020 than over this same period for each year during the past decade. Okay? So the parish has seen more homicides during the first half of 2020 than over this same period for each year during the past decade. That's a very, very alarming statistic to know that's happening, that homicides are happening at such high rates here in our parish. So we really need to have a discussion. That's why I invited Chief Dunn back here on the show. For those of you all that have been listening to my show since I started back in November, he came on and did a fantastic job, and we talked about this same topic, and many people requested a part two. Many people requested a part two, and so now we're giving you a part two because things really haven't gotten better. In fact, they've gotten worse. And so again, I want to welcome Chief Carl Dunn, Chief of Police for the City of Baker. Chief Dunn, say hello to our listening audience.
Good morning and hello, and thank you for the invite, James. I really appreciate it, and yeah, I love being here. You know, I don't mind running my mouth just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yes.
Just a little bit.
Yes.
First of all, again, we may have some folks who are not familiar with you. Now, those folks may not live on this planet.
Yes.
But tell the listening audience who you are,
Okay.
a little bit about your background, your family, and your career pathway to where you are today.
Yes, James, and thanks for the opportunity. Yes, my name is Chief Carl K. Dunn. I'm a 37-year law enforcement professional. I started my career in 1983 at the Baton Rouge Police Department, retired after 32 years in 2015. June of 2015, I was elected in July of 2016 to the Baker Police Department as their first African-American chief. During my career with the Baton Rouge Police Department, I served in such capacities as Uniform Patrol, K-9. I joined the administration in 2005 under Chief Jeff LaDuff. I became the staff inspector. I became the professional standards commander. I became the performance appraiser administrator, which trained all the supervisors on how to not only engage, but how to evaluate all subordinates. I trained all supervisors. I also specialize in training and the use of force policy and how to document the use of forces and when it's necessary, when it's not necessary. I also was a district commander at the 1st District Precinct, which is located on Plank Road. And then once I left district command, I became the first African-American Uniform Patrol Commander of the Baton Rouge Police Department.
Wow. What a background. So you've been doing this for a long time.
Yes, sir.
And not just doing it, you've been doing it in various capacities.
Yes.
In the area of law enforcement.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You're educated man also, right? I think
Yes,
you
sir.
forgot. I require everybody that went to that. Okay.
Let me apologize to the Southern University
That's
in
right.
college.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
You got to say it when you're here.
I received my criminal justice from Southern University at the time that they only had an associate. So I ended up getting my BS, my Bachelor of Science in Sociology from Southern University. I was inducted into the Sociology Honor Society while I was there. And it's an honor and a privilege to sit here and be an alumni and a graduate of Southern University. I apologize to everybody that's a graduate of Southern University.
I just wanted to make sure that was heard.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I didn't know about the sociology. So
Yes,
let's
sir.
talk about that because we're going to talk about a lot today.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about this background in sociology.
Yes,
you
sir.
know, I knew about criminal justice, your
Yes.
background in criminal justice, but right now, I think even in the city of Zachary, Louisiana, there was a debate a few weeks ago about the role of social workers
Yes,
on the police force.
Yes.
And there are a few places across the country where police departments are hiring social workers and mental health professionals to serve on their force in order to deal with those cases of mental health issues and other social issues, so that those officers who may not be trained in that area have help in handling it. How has having a degree and a background in sociology, how has that helped you in your thoughts be a better officer? And do you think it's something that every department should either require of their officers or at least provide training on that mental health and social aspects of being an officer? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a good question, Jay. And from 37 years, let me give you my aspect and my view on that. To me, police officers have always been, or supposed to be, a part of our job is to be a social worker. My experience at Southern University taught me that there was an entire other world outside the police culture and the police world. And man, I cherish it, James, from the day I started back at Southern University. I left Southern University and went to the Marine Corps in 1980. I didn't go back and realize that my mother really wanted a child that graduated from college. So I went back in 1993 and graduated with my 2 degrees in 1997. Went back full time. And in a couple of those semesters, I would work at night. And I took 18, 19, even 22 hours a couple of semesters to graduate. But let me tell you this. Think about it. If I want a social worker to be the social worker, what am I requiring of my officers? What am I holding my officers to be? I want my officers to be in touch with their community. I want my officers to realize if they're not a family person, I probably don't even want you to be a police officer with me because you don't know how to treat people. And this is my thing. I'm not going to say it's not a necessary, but now you're leaving just the enforcement, just the writing the tickets, just taking people to jail, just going out there and be officer, Mr. Frowned Up, don't take no stuff. No. You're going to go in there, you're going to sit down, you're going to talk to them people. You're going to engage them. You're going to find out what's going on. You're going to be a little messy with it, like I've always been since 1983. I want to know what's going on in the household. I want my police officer to be involved in that house, and I'm talking about from the infants in that house to the grandparents in my house. I want them to know what's needed. I want them to help at all. In every instance that there's an inkling of an instance that you can get into to see what that child needs, if it's extra tutoring, if it's a ride to school, if it's picking up. See, a police officer, we an integral part of every part of the community, and I don't want them to forget that. I don't want them to say that's a social worker job. Call me when it's time to take somebody to jail. No, I don't want that. Let me tell you what we did in K9. If you were good,
K9 when you were at BRPD.
When I was at BRPD,
okay.
I was in K9 for 13 years. 10 of those years I was the only minority in K9.
Oh wow!
But guess what kind of dog you want when you got a good dog, James? You got a dog that can play with your, lick your little girls like my dog did, play with your little boys at home, and go to work and put in some good work, find people, bite them if necessary. But other than that, you got a pet. You don't want an officer that's just going to go out and bite people, do you? Just arrest people. Right. You don't want a dog like that. We want, well, we call that a stable dog. The more I use my dog at work, the more I let my dog play with my baby girl at home. because I want my dog to understand that every time I get you out the car, it's not to bite somebody. So every time I send my officer out on the street, it's not to write a ticket. It's not to take somebody to jail. No, it's to see what's needed on that street, James. That's what we are missing. Everybody wants to disconnect the dots. Everybody want to ride around in a doggone tank, dress up with a big old thing, say police, and put a doggone helmet on. That's not a police officer.
And they're missing the part about being community oriented.
And that's the best part, James. That makes our job so much easier. Your job is so much easier. You don't want to connect with this family? You want to see what they need? What about telling me when I interviewed you that you wanted to help?
Oh yeah, because I'm sure when you interviewed them, everybody said, "Oh,
about 55, 100 times."
I just want to help.
Community. I just want to give back. I just want to help, sir.
I'm a people
Why
person.
You want to be a police? I want to help. I want to give back. What happened to all that?
So what happened to it, Chief? What happened to it that now we see more officers who may view their job as to arrest, to stop, to frisk, and spend less time in the community, or relegate that to, that's for the community community outreach division of the police force. That's not for me. That's for those 3 guys who work in community outreach. What happened, or how do we ensure that our departments hire people who don't just say in the interview, "I want to serve my community," but who actually do it?
Do the action and put the work in. And that's what we have to make. You got to understand, James. You have to monitor.
Okay, so monitor.
You got to monitor your officer. And you heard me in my introduction, in my bio of myself. But then I tell you, I did. I trained the supervisors to evaluate and to keep that communication going to see where your officer's head is. You want to know, James. And I've always been like, since a child, I've always been a people person. I've always been one to check on people. I've always been one that can go knock on your door and ask, "Can James come out and play?" And give your mom and dad that smile. And guess what? Ensure your mom and dad that you're going to be all right with me no matter where we went. You were my brother, you're going to be all right with me. There was no blood, but you wouldn't be able to tell. See, I've been like that since a child. But you got to understand, even in 1985 and 86, I had officers that I would call that I was in North Baton Rouge. I was in the most violent area of Baton Rouge, but I called them even if they was at Sherwood Forest, if they were at Highland Road, and I met them on the boundary line, and I wanted to see how their day was going. And I wanted to know what they were into, and I wanted to see how their calls were going, because to me, they could use a little checking on. You want to check on your people. If they're your people and you're really concerned, James, you have to make sure they're going out there and engaging and helping. And then when you got officers, like now with the Baker Police Department, when the officer won't make me smile, guess what they gonna say? "Chief, you're not gonna believe what I did today, Chief. I saw a family that was walking to the store, and Chief, I picked them up. I got them to the grocery store. It was 3 of them. It was a man and 2 little kids. It was a lady, a little boy and a little girl. But Chief, when I got them to the store, they didn't have enough for their groceries. So it only took another $18, but I made sure they were straight. And you know what? That officer just won my heart. Not just for a while, because guess what? Now he's seeing my vision of what a police officer is all about.
So setting the vision, is that what you've done? Is that what you did your first 4 years in office? And is that what you credit as your success, that you set the tone and the vision for a department where every officer will be a social worker too?
Yes. Well, I want every officer to care enough to ask, to make sure that not just the fellow police officers are good, but the community we serve in. James, we servants. We aren't above anybody. James, we are protectors, but we aren't guarders. We're protectors. So how are you gonna know someone needs protecting if you're interested enough to know what's going on at that household and that family?
So let's talk about this, because we do have bad cops on our forces, and they give our good cops bad names.
Yes.
How do we transition those bad cops off of our forces, or how have you in the past dealt with cops who are not community oriented, who are not focused on your vision and the culture you want to present? That, by the way, is keeping Baker safe. I'm sure you know your statistics. If you don't have them here, I don't have you on the show just because you're Chief Dunn. I have you on the show because the statistics show what you're doing. How do you transition those officers out of the department or into places where they maybe could be a better fit, and so they won't be on the street with constituents.
Yes, because my department, like the Baton Rouge Police Department, is civil service.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just walk in and say, you know what you did, Ms. Gladys, the other day, you terminated.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a process to go through. But let me tell you this, as an administrator now, and as a chief now, you have to make it the worst thing that you can do. You got to make it very unpopular. You got to understand, James, for 32 years at the Baton Rouge Police Department, some of the wrong things and some of the worst things were the most popular things. And some of the people that were doing the wrong things.
Wait.
You just heard the right. You heard me right. Some of the wrong things and some of the worst things were the most
I ain't gonna
popular
get the
things.
phone calls. You gonna get the phone calls.
Oh, James, they ain't gonna call me, James. Trust me, they'll call you before they'll call me. They ain't gonna call me, James.
You just said for about 32 years, a lot of the wrong things in the BRP.
And the worst things were the most glorified things and the most rewarded things. That is correct, James.
You said that for 32 years.
Yes, James.
You're saying that there was a bad culture.
There was a huge culture change when the demographics of the people we serve change. And you see most of the conservatives in East Baton Rouge Parish right now that'll tell you they grew up in Dixie, that I lived on Erie Street, I lived on Tuscarora Street, I lived on Uncle Street. You'll see that most of the people that went to Redemptions lived right around Redemptions at the time, Jay. Okay, when those people moved out, and more people that look like Carl Dunn and James Gilmore moved in, then
the police.
Wait. So now, in 1987, now in 1988, and even as far back as 1986, I hear complaints and roll call. Y'all not gonna believe what this lady expected me to do at her house yesterday. And I'm like, well, hold on, man, we've been doing that. I'm trying to understand, you don't do that anymore? James, you know what gave me pleasure? In 1985, every now and then I get a call, and the little old lady, or the seniors, but the little old man, couldn't get the right channel on their TV. And look, I became an expert at unraveling an iron coat hanger and sticking it in their broken antenna and adjusting that antenna just right. So she'd be smiling when I left. James,
so
my heart smiled.
When the white flight occurred in Baton Rouge.
Now look, hey, we're not going to say white or black. We just going to say
when the white flight left,
the demographics changed.
Oh, I'm sorry, the demographics changed.
But when the demographics
now
changed,
you just said that there's 32 years of bad culture.
That's right, James. That's right.
Okay,
that's right. But,
that the way that these minority areas were policed changed.
Yes.
That the sense of community and serving and fixing the antenna for grandma changed. That's right. And it went to kicking down the doors of grandma to arrest grandma's grandson.
That's right. That's right. Okay. And James, you got to understand. The reason why I told you don't say white or black for 32 years, that's the game they played. That's the game they played. Look, I did policy for 7 straight years. And you know what I learned, James? They'll break 15 policies to get you or me. And then they're going to break another 20, 25 to save somebody that they know wrong, guilty of the worst crimes in the world. Worst thing you can do is have a gun and a badge on, James, and go out there and abuse your authority and make citizens feel as though they got nowhere to go, no saving grace. Let me tell you this, James. The culture of Baton Rouge, well known, and I'm going to leave it older than you. Because I just made 58 money last month.
Birthday.
I'm 58. All right. So I started when I was 20. So, James, if we got one, he probably watching now. How could a man catch you as a drug dealer, rob you of your money, take your drugs, put them back on the street? He robbed you. He stole your money. Well, he took it because he put a gun on you. He stole your money. He stole your drugs. How could he testify in court? Because of the culture of Baton Rouge was that you have nowhere to turn. So this man is a thief, a criminal, and he's a liar, but he's the most well-known narcotics man in Baton Rouge. How does that go, James? Huh? Wow. And how does people look up to somebody like that, James? Huh? And how I got to work under them kind of conditions where the wrong thing is being glorified. All right? But James, like I say now, I worked the highest crime area, and I loved it. You want to know why? Because the best of the best were located on those streets that people thought were bad streets. And I love those people today. So
tell me this, so today, some of these areas, and you and I have talked about this, some of these areas especially in North Baton Rouge, the crimes are occurring in the same zip codes and areas more often than
Yes.
not.
Yes.
What's the issue? I got folks who say it's not police department's job, it's not a police officer's job to prevent crime. Because that's society's issue to fix. Then you got folks that say, well, what's the purpose of the police department if it's not to prevent crime? Is it just to be there after the crime is committed?
No.
How do we fix the crime issue anywhere in this country, but particularly right here in the parish that we're sitting in?
But you got to understand, James, what did you just say? How could you say that's not the police department, that's society? So what are you saying, we're not a part of the society? We're supposed to be a part of everything. James, they pay me to ride around. So how could I want to ride around close? I'm getting 50 wrecks because I'm riding around blinded.
Right.
I'm riding around to make sure everybody's okay. Not a certain segment, not a certain neighborhood, not across the track. Both sides, the track's got nothing to do with how I'm going to do my job. Mm-hmm. I want you to put me in the worst, the absolute worst. And I'm going to tell you how I started in Baker. I started in Baker with the highest crime areas.
And what did you do?
And I was told that, Chief, they've been like that for 15 years. They've been like that for 20 years, Chief. There's nothing you can do. And I'm like, huh? What? How could there be nothing that I can do? I engaged those people. I showed those people that we really care how they live. I care how you live. I care how your grandparents live. I care how your parents live. And guess what? I care how your children live and your grandchildren live. James, I don't care how gangster you think somebody is. When he see you taking care of them babies, and he see you taking care of them seniors, and he see where your heart is, he see you really care. I don't care how gangster he is. Guess what he gonna say? Man, that dude Dunn, he all right, man. Man, I ain't been doing what I've been supposed to do, but man, they been making slow slack, been taken up over here in my community and in my household. And Dunn put some smiles on some people's face. Mm-hmm. And James, you got to understand, you're a victim when you got to duck. You're not a victim just because you got to get hit by a bullet. You're a victim when you got to be scared to come outside. You're a victim when you got to hear gunshots. You are a victim when you got to hold on to your purse so tight until the blood rushing out your fingers because you think somebody going. You're a victim then. I want them now. I want to wait till it happens.
Right.
I need to know what can I do to make you feel safe. I want to engage these good people. Mm-hmm. And you got to understand this. In the most violent of the violent areas of Baton Rouge, Baker, New York, anywhere, there are some of the best people with the best heart, the most loving, kindness, giving people that there are. I want to engage them, James. Those are my people. Mm-hmm. I want to engage them. And I want to help them. And I can't come on your street. Let's just say you live on Gus Young Avenue and tell you what's wrong with Gus Young. You live on Gus Young. Your parents lived on Gus Young. Your grandparents. I need you. But if you don't trust me, there's nothing that we can do. We don't even communicate. Because I think I'm above you. I'm going to ride by you. I got my windows tinted. I'm not going to get out. No. I got to engage you, James, to see what you need and do everything in my power. James, a police officer is supposed to ride around with a list, James, like this, of resources, of how I can help the Gilmore family make their life just a little bit better.
I don't think I've ever heard a police officer walk around with a list of resources and how to help the community.
The demographics change, James.
So how do we?
We want to put a helmet on and come. We want to ride on the front of a tank now, James. James, we want to ride on the front of a tank and show we mean business. That's what we want to do, James.
Instead of having a list of resources in your hand and knocking on the door
to see what's going on.
Mrs. Gilmore, how you doing? Yeah. What is it that I can do for you as an officer?
And how is James, Mrs. Gilmore? Everything been good?
So you say we're lacking that?
Of course we are, James. James, that helps us do it. That makes the job. Only thing I'm sure my officers in Baker is there's a much easier way to do it than to be an adversarial contact. I know what I preach all day, every day in Baker, James. Where are my contacts? I need good contact.
Right.
I need contact.
But do you
Where
think
are my
do you
contacts?
think that's lost in the fact that we have officers who don't live in these communities?
No.
What about
No.
that
No.
debate? Okay,
No.
that
No.
you know how can
One
I
of the
relate?
worst-
Let me how can I relate to Scotlandville or Eden Park or Glen Oaks or Old Hammond Highway if I'm not even from here? So I don't have a desire to get out and check on the community or see how my neighbors are doing because my neighbors are 40 miles down the street in a different parish or a different city. What are your thoughts about that?
James, one of the worst officers I had lived right there in Baker.
When you were here in BRP?
No, since I became chief.
So what
That's what I'm telling you.
You're saying you got people from the community that's bad people.
What
too,
you want?
you're saying.
I want to review. I want to.
So what?
I want their actions, not what they say.
It don't matter where you live at. You can still be a bad police officer.
Where is hard? Where is his heart?
You can be right from Glen Oaks and be a bad police officer to folks who live in Glen Oaks.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So no, don't associate with anything other than their actions, James. Communicate. Check on them. See where their heart is. I've had officers, know what I had to ask them, James? You don't like people? You don't stop and check on them? You don't, I'm trying to understand. I see if I was like the former chief, wanted 100 tickets at you. All I'm asking you to do is check on these people out here. You don't like people, I'm trying to see. For the last 3 months, you got 4 contacts.
And contacts again for the public, because you've taught me and told me about this. That's where you as a chief require that your officers touch and embrace and communicate outside of a ticket.
That's right.
Outside of stop and frisk.
That's right.
But you want them to have a good interaction with your officers.
That's right.
And they're required to have a certain number, per day or per week.
James, I want as many. I
many.
don't give my number.
You don't minimize.
At Baton Rouge, I gave them 40. I wanted 40 a day because I had to give them a number in Baton Rouge because I was trying to change an era, very bad culture that officers really loved and grasped my plan and fell in love with it. And not only that, fell in love with the citizens in the same time. And that's what that's what I was trying to get them to do. Now, in Baker, as the chief now, instead of just a uniform patrol commander, I want everybody to know where my heart is. And how am I as a chief making more contact than you, Dr. Gilmore? When I pay you to make contact, I'm not paying you to write tickets. I'm not paying you to take people to jail. I'm not paying you to take money out of people's household. I'm paying you to take care of my citizens. Serve. I put the serve before the protect. We are public servants. We are below. We're not above. We are below everybody. I'm a servant. And I want you to have a servant's heart.
Okay. So transitioning here.
Okay.
You talked about in your introduction that you worked in the use of force policy.
Yes.
One time we talked about police brutality.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, we have murders at the hand of police, murders of innocent people.
Yes.
What's going on in our nation, and it even happened here in our own parish, when innocent people are murdered at the hands of officers?
James,
how do we fix that?
You got to understand that culture of glorifying
wrong.
Wrong.
We have cultures of glorifying wrong across our nation and
James,
here in our city.
Let me give you an example of what happened to my program when I left Baton Rouge Police Department. I had 32 officers that were required to make 40 contacts with no tickets.
With no tickets.
With no tickets.
Because the saying is that, what we say is that you out here giving me a ticket, you ought to be doing something else. Because in some of the public, we believe that a lot of officers out there to do that to us, to give us tickets to meet their quota.
Yes,
their quota.
So look, my programs, and it hurt me to my heart. The guy called me and told me, asked me if I had 8 people in the Dixie area, 8 people in the Marquand area. Well, these same places we have in homicides right now. 8 people in the Gus Young area, 8 people in South Baton. Yes, I did. I had 32 officers 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And yes, I just wanted positive contacts. And I was really retraining officers from some of the stuff that some of the worst instructors in the world would be used training because they've done some of the worst things to become training, because what I told you now, some of the worst behavior is glorified. So you become a trainer. So when they took that overtime,
the bad people get promoted.
Yeah, and they could make them trainers. Yeah, man, because you know what?
So you got
to understand, James.
You got a culture of bad people training on how to engage our community.
James, you got to understand now. You got to understand. Some of this stuff that they do to people, and mostly minority, but not all minority, because see, once that hate get in your heart, you want to do it to everybody. That's what people need to understand. It might start off with a James Gilmore the car done, but it's gonna gravitate to wherever he wants it, because you can't. There's no steering wheel for the hate that you got to have to be able to do that. But they look at that as having the nerve and being brave to show that indifference, to go out there and do somebody like that. And I want you to train my recruits to be able to do that too. And like I say, Baton Rouge, man, it's some of the best recruiting, and Baton Rouge gets some of the best recruits, and Baton Rouge got some of the best instructors. But Baton Rouge also got some of the worst instructors, because they discriminate. They demonstrated the worst and became instructors. And then now you got my little young recruits looking up to people that are very bad, not just bad cops, but they are bad cops. And now what my program was actually doing is showing people the easy way to police, and the kindest, the nicest, kindest, gentle, and use your heart, and not just trying to show an indifference and show that you don't care. You know, and I've always had an issue with somebody that could write a lady with 4 kids 5 tickets. I've always had an issue with that, because you know, my mother was a driver with 6 kids in the car, and I'm trying to understand, how could you have a mother at home that drove you, your brother, sister around, and now you looking at this lady like you never saw a lady with 4 kids in the car. And how could you write in my partner right now, and we best friends right now, in 1986 and 85, I say, man, I know you. I say, man, because I grew up, my daddy took care of the car. So he comes back to the car and get the ticket book, and he say, man, all kind of stuff wrong with that car, man, don't give up. I say, hold on, man. Man, the lady got the 4 kids in the car. Yeah. Man, the husband take care of the car. The husband been working a lot of hours. Can we give her one? Well, what if she hit your car? I say, no, man, but this is what I'm trying to say. You know that lady cannot fix a tail light. You know that lady cannot fix a headlight. Look, if we catch the husband and you want to write him 1 or 2, but how you going to write this lady for all these things? And he grew up like me, that the daddy took care of the outside stuff, and the mother took care of us and the inside stuff. But I'm trying to understand the love, and this is what I ask my officers, the love that you have at home. What do? Check your heart at the threshold of your door, and you go out there and you give them an indifference and almost a hate on the street? I need you to leave your house
with the same love.
With that same love. And show it to my people out here on the street.
And you believe, because you know folks out there say that sound like you soft on crime, that you a softy. No, you heard that during the election.
Yes.
That you talking about all this love and community outreach.
That's right. That's right.
But I guess your stats that you have in Bacon proves that it works.
You got to understand, James. This my heart. This what I do. You can't show love. They could call me soft old crab, but I got a record out this world. Yes, I showed love to the community every day. But when Miss Gladys say that Bobo did it, Bobo went to jail, I had a witness, Miss Gladys. Not only did I have Miss Gladys, but now I got Miss Gladys' neighbor, Miss Mamie, and I got everybody on my side, James.
And Bobo going to jail.
And Bobo going to jail for the right thing. Because Bobo know he did it. Miss Mamie know he did it. Miss Gladys know he did it. But you creating a distrust. First of all, you going in my community with a distrust. If you don't trust me, something telling me I shouldn't trust you. And really, truly, you shouldn't. There are citizens right now that are 100% correct that if a police officer knock on that door and ask them a question, slam the damn door in his face. He treated you like a criminal. James, I got the U.S. attorney sent me a letter asking me about an officer that left in lieu of termination. The U.S. attorney wanted to use that officer to lock a suspect up here and arrest him. I ain't tell him on the phone, James. I wrote to the U.S. attorney that he left my agency in lieu of termination. He's a thief. He's a criminal. He should not be allowed to testify against anybody, because we got to break that culture. Because guess what, James? That U.S. attorney was going to use him to put you and me and him in jail. But the first time that U.S. attorney tried to use him to put somebody that looked like that U.S. attorney in jail, all that background was going to come up. And they're going to say, Chief Dunn let him go and testify, knowing this man is a proven liar and a criminal. How you wear the badge and you a proven liar and a criminal? Yeah, they call me soft on crime, but nobody's going to defeat me and eliminate crime. See, I don't just want to solve a case. I don't even want to have the case. And you know the analogy I use, Jane. I'm going to take my overtime and I'm going to use it before the homicide. You see, a homicide comes with a body.
You take the overtime and use it before the homicide.
Yeah, before it, look.
To prevent it.
Look, a body is 150 hours overtime, sometimes 180, sometimes 200 hours overtime. So what if I take 60 hours
and put it in the community
and see what's going on? Guess what? That chief over there, he got a body or two, as in this morning, and he's spending 180 hours overtime. 3 officers, 4 detectives, crime scene. Guess what? I spent 60 hours, I got no bodies. I spent 60 hours overtime preventing it, and I got no bodies. And that sounds like a winner to you.
Sounds like a winner to me, Chief.
That's a winner to me every day.
Winner to me.
Every day.
Let's talk about our young people.
Come on with it.
What role do you think officers should play in our schools? Does it appear as if we are, intimidating our kids and creating an environment of fear by having officers in our schools?
No, you don't need them in there. You don't need them in there for that.
What role do you think our officers have in our school and in our young people's lives? Because you got a lot of our young people who grow up not trusting the police.
Rightfully so.
Daddy been arrested or they kicked in the door at grandmama's house. And so how do we bring up our kids to believe that police officers are there to protect, serve, and how do we do that?
By letting them kids emulate what they see every day. They are starving for good figures. They are starving for positivity.
Role models.
They are starving for people that's showing an open and happy and joyous life by giving back, by doing the right thing, not just talking it. I don't care what you're talking, by doing it every day and let them see this is what police officers do. James, I got officers now that these kids look up to. But not only do these kids look up to them, James, these officers open their hearts to them, James. And they treat all these kids like a little brother. I could show you body camera.
Body cameras? You the officers have body cameras?
Yes, but James, I can show you body cameras.
Keep them turned on over there?
Yeah, they better keep them turned on.
Okay.
But James, listen to me.
Because everywhere our officers don't keep their body cameras turned on.
James, they got to do the wrong thing and lie about it. You think they're gonna keep the camera on? Huh? But James, I can show you body camera that'll bring tears to your eyes of the love and compassion that my officers are showing for these younger people, that they stopping, that they're not incriminating, that they're not instilling a fear in them.
Right.
And what you doing? Where you going? What you got? Who holding it? If you ain't got it, who got it? Come on, man.
You don't believe it?
No, James. No, not for my kids, James. They're my babies, man. Man, my daughter, if you boom like that to my daughter, she crying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So why you out here making,
she's done nothing wrong.
Making children, people's children cry? They shouldn't try. Like I say, James, there are people that are right. Every time they slam the door to the police officer's face, if that's all he show you is that type of attitude. Mm-hmm. We're not above anybody, James. Mm-hmm. We're not. If a person is a speaker, and you stop him a day, what's a day? 19. Stop him 20. Mm-hmm. Stop him on the 20. And you say, look, Mr. Gilmore, I can understand you're a little late for work, but you're creating a hazard on my street. I'm going to give you a warning this time because I'm not trying to take any money out of your household. I'd rather you spend it on James Jr., books or PE equipment or new tennis shoes that'll be given it to the Baker Police Department. Now, if you are a true speeder, and the day the 20th, guess what he's going to be doing on the 20th of August, or 20th of September? speed.
Mm-hmm.
And when I stop you the next time, guess what you gonna say? Well, Carl Dunn, you gave me an opportunity, and man, I understand it's your job. But James, I want you to know one thing. Yes, you wrote him a ticket the second time, but did you do your job the first time? Did you make a safe street? See, you gotta understand, my job is to make the street safe. I need to render the street safe after that traffic stop. So, if I gave you a warning, did I render the street safe? I did my job.
You still did your job.
I still did my job.
And
I'm working with
made a
you.
relationship, yeah.
And guess what?
So
that's a good contact.
So right now, Chief, the fact is that in this country, being a police officer isn't the most popular thing.
Man, I ain't gonna never agree with that. Man, I love to be the police officer. But yes, James.
And I'm saying this as a problem, not a good
You're
thing.
You're right, James.
And so you got this word going around saying, this word going around, defund.
Yes.
Folks are talking about, since officers are killing innocent people, sending folks to jail who are innocent people. Criminal justice system is filled with minorities who many of them have done nothing wrong, have done petty things that don't deserve long-term, life-term sentences. There's this animosity towards officers.
Yes.
And people want to defund the police. People want to take away their money, which then takes away their ability to police their community, and takes away, and if you ask them, takes away their ability to militarize their police departments and do even more harm. What are your thoughts on this new buzz term that's sweeping the nation, that it's time now, because police officers are not, the argument is, because police officers are not protecting and serving, let's defund them and let's rebuild them from the ground up. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, we are a necessity in the community. Now, as far as doing what we were created to do, I don't think we've been doing that. In too many instances, we have not. Mm-hmm. Too many instances, we went down the wrong road. If you go down the wrong road, you're going to get to the wrong place. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what many have, and like I say, institutionalized the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. Doing the wrong thing, and not only doing the wrong thing, but glorifying the wrong things. So, James, I would never agree with actually defunding the police. I would agree with reforming the police.
Reform.
I would agree with reforming administrations. I would agree with changing administration if you don't like what you're getting. I would agree with.
Don't forget about the union now.
I would agree with holding every chief and his administration accountable, and call them in, and ask them which way are we going, and see if he has a vision, and see if he has a path to attain that vision that he has. But no, to defund the police, James, we need it every day, all day, 24/7.
So in Baker, they elect you. That's how they hold you accountable.
Yes, sir.
In Baton Rouge, we don't do that.
No, sir.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that we need to elect our police chief?
Well, first of all, Baton Rouge needs to be its own city like Baker, Central, now soon to be St. George, and Zachary are. And
there they can elect.
They can get their own mayor, still have a mayor president, just like my hometown Port Allen. We have a Port Allen mayor and a mayor parish president. Okay, now you got to understand there are people that's voting for things in Baton Rouge that live outside of Baton Rouge. Okay, and those people, as you can see with social media now, you can see where their hearts is. Their hearts are.
Some of these people are police officers that live outside Baton Rouge too now.
Of course they are.
James,
we are part of society. I just told you. That's right.
You said an officer can live outside the parish, but you don't think that.
But you got to understand, James. You got to understand now. There are people that are voting for the best interests of people on Gus Young Avenue, and the people on Gus Young Avenue cannot vote for anything in Central, anything in St. George, anything in Baker, anything in Zachary. It's not fair, James. It's just not fair. I would rather the people inside the city of Baton Rouge be able to vote for their best interests inside the city of Baton Rouge. It's only fair that they do that.
But you don't think that police officers should have to live in Baton Rouge?
No, police officers, no, because you got to understand, you were trying to associate their behavior with where they live, when some of the worst could live down the street from me. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make his heart. Where he lived doesn't make his heart. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of the best officers I have live inside of Baker. One of the best officers I have lived in Baker, went to Baker, graduated from Baker High School, and he loved these doggone people. I'm not gonna say he loved them more than me, but James, he right there with me. James, he loved these people to death, and you can tell by everything that he does, because he's always serving and always protecting.
Yeah.
But you got to understand, that's his heart. That's not where he lived. That's his heart. James, I just want him to treat people like they want their family treated. That's all. But you got to hold them to doing that.
That's a heavy task. We have an election coming up in November for our parish president. Again, in our parish, we have to go with whomever the mayor president appoints. Not sure if that's worked good for our city in the past or not. Again, in Baker, they can decide whether they want to keep you or not. And obviously, you must be doing some good things because they overwhelmingly decided to keep you.
Yes, and thanks to the citizens of Baker for re-electing me. Hey, and I do love you all. I love you all. Go ahead.
And so we just, if it's not defunded, and I'm not here to say what, to define or clarify for those who have this term that's been used across the nation, but absolutely reform, you're saying, is necessary.
Yes, it is.
And accountability.
Absolutely, yes.
From the chief to the supervisors,
that's right,
to the officers.
That's right.
Because we can't have innocent folks dying anymore.
No.
Okay? Murder, these tactics that are being, from what I've read, are being taught to put knees on necks, and people can't breathe, and chokeholds. We need to get those out of all the police departments. And if the bad folks have moved up the ranks and are leading and training in these tactics, then we got to figure out a way through the union, through reforming the union, or reforming the system so that we have a system where our chief is elected and the mayor president has more power to get these folks out of our departments. Because, chief, again, you believe, and you absolutely should believe, you got the best profession in the world. But right now, across this nation, there are people who don't see that as you do, and we can't.
And rightfully so. It is right. The vision they have is a vision that police departments have put up across the country. So it's justified that they look at us that way. Mm-hmm. But James, we have a lot of work to do. Mm-hmm. We do. We have a lot of work to do. And you want to know why? One of the reasons we have a lot of work to do because a lot of good people and a lot of good officers have been just like the citizens on the street. If you say something, you're in trouble. They've been sitting around because they want their career. They've been sitting around because you become unpopular. The popular guys, that most of the time, gonna be the guys doing the wrong thing. They're gonna make all overtime, and that's what I was leading to before you gracefully cut me off.
I think I read. I'm gonna cut you off. But I think I read somewhere where like the stats came out that showed there's a lot of internal complaints about the way that the Baton Rouge Police Department is being ran. In other words, there are officers on the force that are complaining just as much as the people in the public are complaining.
Yes, that's right.
There are just as many reports of wrongdoing happening by those who are a part of the department as there is with the public filing complaints.
Yes, I saw that.
So you got the internal officers complaining about the structure and what's going on, unfair treatment or racism or whatever, just as the public is.
But think about this, James, and this is one of the things that I preached coming in 2016 to my officers. If the officers are mistreated in a department, how are the citizens treated? If the officer is not a fellow officer, and you look at that officer a certain way because of his beliefs or his religion, race, or whatever, then how are you treating my citizens? Mm-hmm. And I need to know that. Mm-hmm. I need to understand, first of all, I know, like I told you in 85, 86, I had officers that I would call to check on. I know I got to check on you now because I see how you look at my minority officers. So I know how you want my citizens treated on the street. Right. And that's what you're going to promote. Right, right. And I got a civil service system. Don't get me wrong. If I wasn't civil service, I'd probably have a couple of them right now. I could walk in and say, look, you need to go work somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But I got to work within the bounds of what I came in on, and I don't have a problem with that.
Or we got to reform the civil service.
No. We need the civil service.
I ain't say defund it. Yeah. I didn't say eliminate it. I said we got to reform it. No. Because we know that unions and the civil services they were created to protect the people's rights at work. But we got to admit that those rights are picks and chooses.
But you got to challenge them to do right.
Absolutely.
You got to, first of all, research it enough, be inquisitive enough to find out exactly what's going on.
Right.
Know what's right and know what's right in your heart and stand on that no matter who's against you.
Right.
You got to stand on that and let the naysayers come, James. But what they say, hey, when God is for you, who can be against you, James? No, let me tell you this, James. Stand on what's right. I got to understand, I left a department for 32 years that they will tell you, I know you're right, but you're going to lose. They'll tell you that. I believe what you say, but they're going to come in here and lie. And every time,
win.
Every time somebody came back and told me that, you know what I told them? Make them lie. Don't drop your case. Come on, man. I need you to make them lie, man. Somebody got to say something. Somebody gonna hear you. Somebody gonna say that sound familiar. Somebody gonna have deja vu and say that's the same thing they did me. She ain't lying. He not lying. But if they keep convincing you to drop the case because they telling you the loser, the liar's gonna win. Yeah, the officers. They telling you the liar's gonna win. No, the liars may win, but the liars gonna know I fought them. They may win.
That's a good message to officers.
But the liars are going to know that I fought them.
Because the public is expecting the good cops to get rid of the bad
Internal affairs will tell you this. Internal affairs at the back, not anymore, Paul reformed it. But in the history, internal affairs will tell you, I believe what you're saying, but man, he got 6 witnesses, they all gonna lie and say the same thing. And you know what I say?
Thank you, Chief Paul, for reforming that.
Hey, I don't care if he got 8, bring all 8 in here. I want all 8 of them to lie. Line them up. Line the liars up. But you got to understand, James, those same liars got to go to court. They got to put their hand on the Bible. And they got to swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If they lie in there, they shouldn't be allowed to go in court and lie and send people to jail.
Right.
How they sending people to jail? They ain't nothing but a liar and a criminal. And they got a badge on. Right. You should not be able to testify in court, James. If all you want to do is go around and lie and have your way and steal and cheat. You want to cheat like a little kid. You want to skip the line, you want to cheat.
Give us some closing remarks, Chief. What do you have to say to the city of
I know no hour.
We only get an hour, brother. Give us some closing remarks.
Man, I'm not even coming back to this show. Because you be moving the clock up too fast.
I gotta say, we gotta stay organized here at WTQT 106.1. Give us some closing remarks.
No, first of all, you cut me off 5, 6 times. It feel like I just sat down. I got so much to say. But in closing remarks.
All right, talk to us. Talk to your people.
Closing remarks.
Wait, let me tell you. I want you to talk to your citizens of Baker. I want you to talk to every officer in this parish, and I want you to talk to BRPD. I want you to talk to us and give us some closing remarks.
Why you put BRPD in there? I'm retired.
I know.
Paul holding things down.
He's doing a great job.
He's a good man.
I'll have him on this show.
Right,
yeah. No. We know he's working hard.
In my closing remarks, all I want to say is I like to keep it simple. Thank y'all for watching. Thanks a million to the citizens of Baker for seeing through the mislead, seeing through the deception, and seeing where Carl Dunn's heart is enough to vote for me once again, to give me an opportunity to serve you, and to continue with the reform and continue what we are doing in Baker, continue to reduce the crime, continue with the low ticket count, continue with the increase in the positive contacts, and to continue to make the Baker Police Department a model police department to be emulated all across this country. We want to do it the right way. We want to serve you. Hopefully other chiefs will look at this interview and try to understand that there are ways to defeat the deceptors, to defeat the people that want to go out and do what's wrong, to defeat the people that wants to wear a badge and want to be liars and want to be criminals and want to be cheats. There are ways. In God's way, you got to pray. You got to pray. You got to get on the right side and you got to stay. Yeah, Ryan. You got to get on the right side, stay, and pray. And guess what? God got the rest. There are people that will support you that you don't even know yet. But make your contacts. Have your officers make your contact. Support these families out here. Work on your domestic violence. That's a way into the household. Work on the mischievous kids. That's a way to the household. Ask the questions at the school. That's a way into the household. Ask the questions at the bus stop. That's a way into the household. I need you in the households to see what's going on. If Miss Gladys is concerned, then you should have a concern as a police officer. Let's do this the right way. I'm not going to say you're perfect. I'm not going to say no mistakes won't be made. But correct yourself. Apologize. Do it the right way. And look, let's put some faith in these people. Let's put some trust in these people. If we want them to have faith in us, let's have some faith in them. We want them to trust us. Let's trust. Let me tell you what I tell my officers all the time. I want you to trust first. I want you to love first. One of my officers just came to me Monday, and he said, Chief, how you doing so good, Chief? I've been reacting, but I watch you. And he said, Chief, you step back for a minute and you smile no matter how bad it come at you. He said, you calculate. And he said, no, it's not aggression against aggression all the time. That's not the best way. Wow. He said, Chief, I want some people. This was just Monday. He came in my office.
It's not aggression against aggression all the time.
He said, Chief, I took that old ragged smile you be giving us. He said, Chief, that I had some people come at me, Chief, I thought hated my guts. And guess what, Chief? They love me to death now. Because they were pushing my buttons, and I didn't let them be pushed.
That's right. It's not aggression against
officers
and to the public.
No.
It's not aggression against aggression
this is,
all the time.
My way is not the difficult way. I tell my officers, you're going to get burned. But when you get burned, I want you to trust even harder, and I want you to love even harder. Keep going. God got us all. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you, Chief, for coming on the show for a second time.
Thank you. We
promised the audience we would do a part 2, and we were able to do it.
All right, now we need a part 3 because he cut me off, y'all, like 8, 10 times. He cut me off.
Thank you all for listening to What's Going On. My name is Dr. James Gilmore. Every Tuesday and Thursday morning from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. right here on WTQT 106.1 FM. Again, have a fantastic day and the rest of your week.
Thank everybody for watching. And hey, keep your heads up. Let's work together. Let's love, let's pray, and let's keep these communities together. Thank y'all.